Big up and big up and warm welcome back to SportSentric. I'm your host, Billy2109. Sorry about the show earlier. What happened is that my phone overheated, unfortunately. Again, my phone overheated. This is so painful. Yeah, my phone overheated and eventually I had to put it back in the fridge again. Thank you, Queen Ellie, for that lovely piece of advice, because if it wasn't for people like her, I don't know what I would do. I think you know what I would do? I'd throw the phone out the window, to be fair, because it's so bloody hot. Yeah, we have here in England, it's so friggin' hot. But yeah, I want to thank everybody who was going to be part of this video, from Corey, who gave up his time, and Queen Ellie, and Cookmeister, and Pete Chambers, who distributed it. Hopefully every one of you have a place in my heart. Thank you very much. All right, let's see if we can do this on a big screen. Hopefully we can. No, it won't let me do that. I don't think I was about that too much tonight. But so, yeah, what I want to do is talk about the semi-finals of the World Cup, which is what I was trying to do earlier, but unfortunately, like I said, the camera was malfunctioning. But now finally it's working again, so we can do this properly. And what I wanted to talk about was France versus Spain and Argentina versus England, and what to look forward to and which players are going to be the match winners. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to start with France. They are, without doubt, one of the best teams of this tournament. They've come into this tournament on a high, and you can see what Deschamps is doing. Deschamps is already leaving after this tournament, and Zidane will come in most likely afterwards. But the front four are something else. The interchangeable aspects of the three behind Mbappe, from Doué to Turkey, from Doué to Dembele to Elise. Those three are just fantastic. Then you've got, and the competition for places is even amazing afterwards, because you've got Turkey, one of the Man City's players of the year. You've got Akiliush, who PSG are interested in, and had a brilliant season at Monaco, even showcasing his ability against Tottenham when Monaco plays Spurs. And then you also have, behind that, you have the no, not so impressive Barcola. I'm not a big fan of Barcola, because Barcola for me is one of them players. Yeah, I know his stats are good for people to say, but he just seems to take so many chances to convert it for me, and he just feels like he's very uncomposed in front of the ball. Unless it's instant finish, he doesn't look like he's able to finish properly, and that for me is why I just don't like Barcola. But each to their own at the end of the day. But in that aspect, we're looking at France being one of the favourites for this tournament. Where I find them weak, though, is whilst we have the Rolls Royce William Saliba, and big up Pete Chambers, because William Saliba, after this season, won the league at Arsenal, finally won a trophy there, and now he's got that winner's mentality, which is what I was hoping he would have. Which is why for years, I wanted him to go to Real Madrid, but unfortunately, he won something at Arsenal, so why would he need to leave? But next to him, you have Upamecano. And when you watch Bayern Munich, they can't defend it. Upamecano is a massive problem in that. I feel there's a bozo gene in there. And you just think, you know what, one game here, you're going to cost us, because he's rash and impulsive. And you give the ball away, and it's like, when you've got someone calming influence like Saliba next to him, you would think maybe he'll be able to do, but he just seems so meh when I look at him. And do you know who I feel sorry for this tournament? It's Maxence Lacroix. Maxence Lacroix, even from his days at Wolfsburg, and then going to Crystal Palace and winning the Europa Conference League last season, and as well as the FA Cup the season before. It's a fantastic defender, and I would have loved him at Tottenham Hotspurs, but it looks like Chelsea are on the brink of bringing him in this summer. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But Maxence Lacroix is a fantastic defender. And I just don't understand how he hasn't had any game time, but then maybe he plays on the same side as Saliba. So. And the other person I would look at, say that maybe you have a bit of a bozo gene, is Mike Mingan. And I know he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world before people start. But when I watch Mike Mingan, for example, I think there's something. Sometimes you want a goalkeeper to come out there and collect the ball, be authoritarian. And when I watch Mingan in the last few games, I just feel like you put the defense at under rest. And maybe that's just me, but when I watch Mike Mingan, I don't feel reassured. It's not the same like when you watch somebody else, but I feel these two could be the weak link for France. Now we'll talk about Spain. The mark of a good team is to win without playing well. And that's what Spain do. I think they're on a win rate of like 68 without losing a game. And they hardly concede a goal. The goal against Belgium was the first one they conceded in a long time. So while France have the attack, we know that Spain has a resolute defense. So this could be one for the ages, and which one's going to win? The French attack or the stubborn Spanish defense? Oh, sorry, we've got someone in the chat. I can't see everything, but thank you very much for tuning in again. This one I'm going to make a proper show. Is that Ghosted? Oh, that's my mate, the Cookmaster. Big up, Cookmaster. I hope you can see me now. We don't want to do too much show off tonight, Cookie. I've had to put the phone in the fridge, mate, so I'm just doing this podcast right now, on the fly. I hope everyone's enjoying it. I'm sorry it's late again, and thank you for tuning in. But yes, Spain we're talking about. They have a resolute defense, but what also Spain have is an enigma. Unfortunately, enigma was out for 2 months before this tournament, which is why he hasn't really set the world alight. And that's Lamine Yamal. I remember back in the last Euros where he picked the ball up in the midfield, ran towards the French defense, and unleashed an almighty shot that flew into the top corner. And all I could say was France were visibly shell-shocked. You could see it, how they moved around, and you could see that they were proper rocked. And we proceeded the second goal straight afterwards with Dani Olmo, to be fair. So you could see how much damage. But what to France's defense, what they did do is they did have the opportunities, and Mbappe had an opportunity that he blazed over the bar. But with Yamal in that team, Spain are growing into this tournament, and their likely match winner, Mikel Merino, is actually proving to be one asset a super sub coming off the bench. He scored in the first game, and then he scored in the last game against Belgium to send Spain through. And like I say, by hook or by crook, they get results and they get their way there. So this is going to be one good semi-final when it comes up tomorrow night. And I'm nervous for it because, like I said, I support France. They are my... And like I say, how are Spain going to take this game? How are France going to take this game? It'll be interesting watch for everybody out there. But I'm hoping France win, but then I'm biased. So there you have it. And the next one I want to talk about is Argentina versus England. Now, I don't know what would you say, chat? Which one would you talk about first? Would you talk about Argentina or would you talk about England? It'll be an interesting thing, but I'm going to start with, I should get a coin in it really. Just take a coin, flip the head and see which one comes first. It's Argentina or England. Let's talk about England this time. Right. England going to this tournament were one of the favourites. I can see why. They find a way to get over. They find a way to grind themselves into finals, and it seems like they seem to have easy routes there. But once they find a decent opposition, they seem to find one too good for themselves. Now, I would love England to beat Argentina, but I've seen this pattern from England in the last Euros. If you remember, they beat Switzerland, and they got to the final. They beat Switzerland, the Netherlands, and they got to the finals of the Euros. But ultimately, they faced a rampant Spain, and Spain put them in their place. But then we saw this after the semi-finals, to be fair, with France, that Spain were coming in at a high. Now, I got a feeling that the winner of the World Cup is going to come from the first semi-final that we talked about earlier, the Spain versus France game. I could be wrong. I just feel that side of the draw was more hard than the England-Argentina side of the draw. But with England, yeah, it's that question of, can they do it at the best, can they do it when the time comes? Are they good enough to set the stall out here, go against Argentina and give them a game here where Argentina are pushed to the limits? Because I don't trust this Argentinian defense, but we'll talk about that later on. We'll talk about Argentina. My issue with England, yeah, is not many players seem to show up in these knockout phases, but one that does show up here is Bellingham. When the chips are down, Bellingham shows up. He was doing it for Real Madrid, to be fair, with them last-minute goals in his first season. I don't look at him as a creative midfielder. I don't look at him as a 10, more of a box crasher. If people remember right, yeah, do you remember Dele Alli for Tottenham Hotspur? I put Jude Bellingham into that mold of a player, where you would come into the box, arrive late, and you'd put the ball in the back of the net. That's what I look at when I see Jude Bellingham. I could be wrong. Please put in the chat, yeah, leave it in the comment section whether you feel the same way. But I feel that when I look at Jude Bellingham, I feel like a younger, modern version of Dele Alli as a professional, where he used to come in and score those goals that were important in games. But the Norway game was not pleasing to the eye. But then I said it earlier in the video that hopefully this one will take over, that sometimes you don't have to be pretty, just be effective. And that's what England are. They're not pretty to the eye, but they are effective. And they've got to the semi-finals. By hook or by crook, they've beaten Mexico, one of the host nations, in the Azteca, with the altitude not in their favour, with the humidity not in their favour. They've gone there and done that. They've eliminated Norway, who had Erling Haaland, who eliminated Brazil. I'm not going to say single-handedly, because they took all of Norway to do that, but he would have a storm of that day. And so now it's a question of, I hope you can hear me in the chat. Please tell me you can. Let me know, put thumbs up, whatever, if you can hear me in the chat. But when you look at it properly and you see the dynamics of how England play, I wasn't happy with the way England played before the tournament. Like I said, you don't have to be pretty, just effective. I just don't like the way Tuchel sets us up. It just feels so negative, and it's so painful to watch. But like I say, if they win the tournament, who gives a crap? But for me, not for me. But then, like I said earlier, yeah, I get to see the expression. I get to see the fall behind the Mbappe. So maybe it's my palette or pate or my palette. But yeah, another chance for Harry Kane to show how good he is. Another chance for him to come to the party and put himself in the name for the Ballon d'Or. Another chance for Harry Kane to show I am the man, able to put himself on the same level as a Mbappe, like a Messi, to be able to show up in the big occasions, in the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals. Maybe it's been a long season, but I don't want to hear that with Harry Kane anymore. It's about time Harry Kane shows how good you are. If you're as good as a lot of Spurs fans make it out to be, then you'd be able to stand up for England right now and prove yourself. As a captain of England, you are that role model, you're that aspiring figure. And when the chips get down, you need that captain to step up. And the only semi final that measurably stepped up here was the Denmark game. But then, did he? Because even in that game, he fluffed the penalty but scored the rebound. And that's not being disrespectful, it's just the fact. You can go back and watch the Denmark versus England game. By the way, what a lovely free kick from Damsgaard. I would love to match Tottenham Hotspurs, by the way. What a midfielder. And that was then when he was in his younger age, and that alone now. Now he plays for Brentford. If we get that one, yeah, hopefully, maybe not with Enid 2.0, eh? But maybe we might get the Damsgaard. Here we go, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But sorry about that. I just like to have a little bit of fun and jokes because life is very short. Make the most of what you have and enjoy it to the max. But well, maybe someone's switched off. Too bad. I just like to be myself, and this is why I thank everybody out there. I try to push myself, and I want to push my audience as well. I want you all to be able to look at England, look at Argentina, and give us an opinion of what you think will happen in the game. Because I'm looking at Argentina and I'm asking myself, offensively, you're one of the best teams. You've got the likes of Lautaro Martinez, yeah, who is a fantastic player, and the centre forward for Inter Milan. You've got Juan Alvarez, yeah, Julian Alvarez, as he likes to be called, and he is a fantastic player who plays for Atletico Madrid on the brink, possibly, of joining Barcelona this summer as the replacement for Lewandowski. You've got and then behind that you have the fulcrum. I'm calling him the fulcrum from now on of the Argentinian team, the heartbeat, the soul, and that is Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi hasn't aged in 4 years. His level of his quality has not diminished in 4 years. His influence on this Argentinian team is the same like it was 4 years ago. And that's the best thing I can ever say about a player is he just like fine wine here, he's just matured as a player. And in this tournament, his level of goals on Mbappe, it's like them two have gone above everybody else. Hopefully Kane will be able to mark himself and be able to put himself in that picture again. But these two have excelled. And when you think of Messi being 38 years old, it's a fantastic achievement for him to be able to keep going and still being able to lead Argentina to the brink of another World Cup. I think this might be his last one, but you never know in this world. Anyway, Argentina are gritty and determined. Determined. When you watch them play, there's a never say die attitude. And I'm going to bring in the Egypt game first of all. The Egypt game, when they were 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go, and somehow they came back and won the game 3-1, 3-2. In normal time. We must put this down in normal time. That is a heck of an achievement to do that in normal time, by the way. And while I was critical of Romero for the second Egypt goal, yeah, for him to score the goal that started the comeback or something else as well. So you have to give the devil his dues. You have to praise one hand, and then you have to be fair on the other hand. But if you can kick, you have to praise. You have to. It's just yin and yang. That's just how it goes. Like I said, Enzo Fernandez seems to come out big goals for Argentina when he needs to. He scored the second one. And then, no, Messi scored the second one, Enzo scored the third one. But the most impressive game, I think, was Switzerland. Switzerland are regimented, rigid in defense, and they don't very much concede goals. They are a solid unit. And yet Argentina scored against them after 10 minutes. And do you know what? In that game, yeah, I'm actually glad Argentina did score, because when Argentina scored, it brought Switzerland out of their shell. Because Switzerland wouldn't have come out here had Argentina not scored in the game. The fact that they did brought Switzerland out, to be fair. And I was impressed with the Switzerland attack. Okafor and a man like Mbolo. And then Switzerland scored, after McAllister scored in the first half, Switzerland fought their way back, and Endoy scored the equaliser. But this is where I'm critical of well, I don't know critical of some referee decisions, but this one was a bit weird in the fact that, yes, it was simulation from Mbolo. He deliberately threw himself on the floor. There was nowhere near McAllister's foot. And it was disgusting for him to try and play it. And he already had a nonsense yellow card for an innocuous foul he had committed earlier in the game. So for him to then dive and get caught and yellow card for simulation ended up costing Switzerland the way, because it stretched the game. It allowed Argentina to stretch the game, because with 10 men there, you're going to have to chase the ball down. And this is what allowed Argentina to expert themselves later on in extra time against a tiring Swiss team. But let's not take away how good the second goal was from Julian Alvarez. That was one of the best goals of this World Cup so far, with a volley that flew into the top corner. And let's not diminish that because Argentina had scored the second goal, that brought Switzerland back out again, because they knew they were going home anyway. And that left the gap there for Lautaro Martinez to do what Lautaro Martinez does. And that is be a predator in the area, be a maximum poacher. That is exactly what he is, a poacher of a forward. He's one of them forwards, yeah, I would say that you need a big man like a Thuram to get the best out of him, because a Thuram gets the nod down to the flick ones, and what comes off him basically puts Lautaro Martinez in the area, and there's no one more lethal than Lautaro Martinez in the current area. And this is what happened in this game. Now, when we go into this England game, we have to look at Argentina being ropey at the back. I'm not a big fan of Lautaro Martinez, and I'm not a big fan of Cristiano Romero, as most people will know here. I look at Romero as Ram Man from He-Man. He is that bad. His thought process is that bad. You think, mate, just calm yourself down. If I was an opposition player, I would deliberately target Romero to get him sent off. That's how volatile you can see Romero is. You can actually trigger him to go and do something stupid, unfortunately. And this was always my critical part of him, his mentality. And I'm not going to say his work rate, because some games he can be epic. And he's one of them players that's a very patchy one. Next minute, 1 minute he can be a 10, next minute a 2. This is just how it ranges with Romero. But he is a fantastic centre-back on his day. The problem is his days are so few and far between that we just don't know what's going to happen in this game. And I hope it's one of them bad days so that Harry Kane and England can take advantage and get to the finals. I want England versus France, to be fair. So it's another one of those mystery ones where Argentina will be strong favourites. England aren't underdogs. England are a big nation, so never let anyone tell you that England are underdogs. But in this one, yeah, you have to favour the world champions, because, like I said, they fought, they scrapped, they found different ways to win. Not like England, they found different ways to win. And I think this is a bridge too far for England. I think they will get to the third, fourth place match. I hope they play Spain in that, to be fair. But If they get to the final, they'll play France. But we'll find out tomorrow night anyway. We're going to do another show on Saturday properly, like this one, where I'm on my doorstep and it's nice and cool, and hopefully we can hear it. And you know what? I'm going to make the show later, actually, because the later it is, the better it is for me and for everybody else, I feel. So I want to say thank you very much for tuning in. I'm sorry about the show earlier. There's a glare in there. You see, maybe I'm divine. Maybe there's a glare because it's like, oh, well, you know. Well, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next time on SportSentric. And please tune into BMGT. We will be doing stuff on BMGT. I promise you. Do not sleep and think that BMGT is going anywhere. It's not. I am going to build some stuff on BMGT. I'm just waiting for this World Cup to finish because viva la revolution. And we're out. Bless.